everyone. Welcome to 5 on Friday. Today is Friday the 13th, so we are going to be doing 5 horror books. I know that these 5 on Fridays are meant to be more specific kind of things, but since I'm still getting started on this, I decided it would be okay to do a broader category of horror books. And I guess we can say that these are horror books that I have read and liked, and I am not a huge horror book consumer, so I guess that makes it be a little bit more specific. The first book I want to highlight today is called Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I don't know if you would consider this one a horror like I do, but when I read this one, I was blown away by the craziness and the scariness and the intensity and the uniqueness and all the things. This is the beginning of a series. It's a science fiction horror, I would call it. It takes place in space. There's a ship that's trying to get to safety. This stuff happens, and now we're looking back on the event by reading all of the evidence. It's kind of like there's a court case almost, and so we are seeing ship's logs, the emails, the cameras, things like that. It's amazing. I can't say enough good stuff about this one. I've read the second one. There's a third one that I have not read yet, which I really need to do. Second one I have on my list is The Passage by Justin Cronin. And I feel like this is the best zombie book ever written. It's a huge book. I read it back in 2010. So there's a virus, turns people into zombies. There's a patient zero, I remember that. And everybody's trying to get to safety. Everybody's turning into zombies really fast. And all these characters, you follow their path through what's happening with this outbreak of this virus. So good and so intense. Oh my gosh. Number 3, Under the Dome by Stephen King. I haven't read a whole ton of Stephen King books, but this is one that I did read together with my friend Jenny way back in 2011, and it's about a city or a town who all of a sudden they have realized that there's this some sort of invisible sphere that falls down on them one day. And some people die instantly, and some people die shortly after, and a crisis begins. And they don't know what's going on. Don't know if somebody else inside the town knows what's going on, and it is crazy. You get very involved in the characters again. This is probably why I like some of these books. Like I said, I'm not a huge horror fan, but I am so into characters, and these books are all like that. I cannot talk about horror books without talking about Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I've read this one a few times, and my biggest take on this one is how stupid Dr. Frankenstein is, and how compassionate I feel towards the monster, and how I feel like if Dr. Frankenstein could have just handled this situation better, then the monster could have been a good guy. But because he's treated so terribly, then he turns into a monster. If he would have just had some love in his life, then maybe he would have been okay. I need to reread it again because our city is having a highlight of this book all through the month of October, and it's time for a reread. I wonder if I can fit that in. Last one I'm talking about is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, another science fiction horror book. I read this book way back in 2007 after I heard people talking about it, probably because of the movie. It really gripped me and held me captive, and just like the dude in the book who is hiding from the bad guys, and he's the last man after this plague, and he's got to survive. Yeah. So a lot of plague books, a lot of these horror things start out with plagues. Have you noticed? Anyway, I love all of these books, and like I said, I don't know if you would consider them all horror, but for me, they were in my brain, and so that's why I'm sharing them with you. And if you feel like you need to have some really nice, grippy, spooky, intensely suspenseful book to read during this month, I would suggest any of these. Let me know if you pick them up and what you think of them. Until next time, happy reading!